The closest you'll get on the Android side to the iPhone's unique combination of hardware and software is of course Google's Pixel. But how does that one stack up against Apple's newest iPhone? Of course, the iPhone 12 mini is pretty tiny by today's standards, but the Pixel is also pretty small for an Android phone. And that is probably also one reason why you're interested in this comparison, as these are both around the smallest devices you can find for the respective platform. In reality, the feel in the hand in terms of size is not really that different though. And the Pixel is technically made fully from aluminium, but because it's covered in a plastic coating, it doesn't really feel as premium as the iPhone. The 12 mini also has nicer feeling buttons in addition to its superior metal and glass construction. And of course it looks much less boring in this red color than the black of the Pixel 5, but you can at least also get that in green. The vibration motor on the iPhone is second to none, even if the Pixel's isn't bad. Both phones are water resistant and feature stereo speakers, but the ones on the iPhone do sound significantly better with a nicer stereo effect, as the Pixel's top speaker is hidden under the screen, making it much quieter. Overall, I'd say the iPhone did have more thought put into its design, and you can see that there's more attention to detail than on the Pixel. This is not a make or break difference though. The screens on these phones are very similar, as they're both OLED panels with the same resolution. But the Pixel's is of course bigger, and that is a noticeable difference. The screen on the 12 mini is very small, there's just no way around that. You do notice that while typing or consuming content. And it will be up to you to decide if you want a slightly smaller phone for the price of watching videos or browsing not really being that enjoyable. I also think that the Pixel's front looks nicer with a small hole in the corner than the iPhone with its huge notch. But both have the same size bezels all around, that's rare enough and looks nice. Apart from that, both panels are sharp, bright and saturated. The iPhone screen is probably a bit superior, but that's not really noticeable. What is noticeable is the difference in refresh rate. The Pixel has a 90Hz screen while the iPhone is stuck at 60Hz. That does make scrolling and animations on the Pixel feel more fluid, but I also have to give credit to the iPhone. It's the smoothest feeling 60Hz phone I've tested with no hiccups in iOS. That said, even that doesn't fully make up the difference, even if said difference is not that big of a deal. Because of this, the Pixel takes home this category with the same small advantage the iPhone had before. The A14 is much faster than the chip in the Pixel, but that fortunately isn't noticeable in day-to-day use, also thanks to the 90Hz screen on the Pixel. Both phones make it through their respective OS without any hiccups. But when processing images after pressing the shutter button, the Pixel does take a couple of seconds to think. And in heavy games or AR applications, you will probably also notice a difference. What the faster chip might have going for it too is more longevity for the iPhone. Both phones have 5G, so there's no real difference there. iOS versus Android is often a pretty heated debate and basically the biggest decision maker here too. But I actually want to highlight how similar the two have become. The gesture navigation is the same. If you know how to get home or to your recent apps on one, that also works on the other. Both have dark mode and easy mobile payments. And now even the home screens are more similar than ever, with the content page on the left, widgets and an app drawer. It really doesn't matter for most which one you use day to day, both can get the same stuff done. The Pixel does still let you customize more though, and the iPhone of course gives you the ecosystem advantage with its stellar integration with the Apple Watch, the Mac and so on. Both also don't make it that easy to switch the platform, that's important to state too. Face ID is more convenient when you can use it, especially when logging into apps, but since we now often have to wear masks, you often can't. That's where the fast fingerprint sensor on the Pixel comes in handy. All in all, software ultimately will come down to preference, but again, the differences have become minuscule. Both of these phones have stellar cameras, but there are differences worth talking about. In good light the pictures are really great, but the colors on the Pixel are more natural. The iPhone tends to produce pictures that are warmer and more dramatic in their color reproduction. The Pixel also has slightly better dynamic range. All of this does make me prefer the Pixel's pictures most of the time. What is important to mention is that the iPhone's wide angle is much wider than the one on the Pixel. Both have one though at least. And the quality of the wide angle sensors is also really good on either. The biggest difference really comes into play with the night mode. The approaches are very different here. The Pixel uses the night mode automatically much sooner and also allows you to let it decide how to expose the picture when enabling it manually. The iPhone's approach on the other hand is either all auto or all manual. That means that when the iPhone decides that it's bright enough to turn night mode off, you do have to go in and do some trial and error with the exposure time yourself. I think the Pixel's approach will lead to better pictures for most people who just click the shutter button. The iPhone might often get you pictures that might be closer to real life, but also less detailed and rather dark. That's especially true for the ultra-wide camera on the iPhone. Selfies are very good on both. Due to the different color processing, the iPhones do look a bit more lively in my opinion though. The background blur in portrait mode is also a bit more natural. When it comes to video, the iPhone still has the edge, but not by as much as it used to. The Pixel now also supports 4K 60 and has very good stabilization, but the iPhone is still a bit better in terms of noise and sharpness. So that leaves video as a slight difference versus better picture quality on the Pixel, which I deem more important for most, even if it's just because of the more reliable night mode. But the difference is not really a deciding factor either. Battery life is very different between the 12 mini and the Pixel 5. With the regular 12, the difference wouldn't be this stark. On the Pixel you can get about 6 to 7 hours of battery life, making 1.5 to 2 days of use totally possible. The mini on the other hand just barely gets you through one day with about 4 to 5 hours. That's not that bad, but it is a compromise that comes with the size. Charging is rather slow on either at about 18 watts, making quick top-ups not really possible. That's unfortunate for both. Either supports wireless charging, the Pixel can also wirelessly charge other devices. Apple's new MagSafe charging, which is basically a faster magnetic version of Qi, is very convenient, but you could also stick that charger on the back of the Pixel just fine if you want it. So charging is rather similar, but the Pixel has noticeably better battery life, at least compared to the mini iPhone. Both of these phones are actually surprisingly similar. The Pixel's camera is better, but not by much. Everything else, build quality, performance, the screens, extras, is basically the same. Both OSs of course run super well on their maker's hardware, they just have their own set of advantages, such as openness versus ecosystem and so on. Just know that they are closer than ever, with the iPhone now also having an app drawer and widgets. And of course, this is the 12 mini, which has worse battery life than the Pixel 5, but that's not really a differentiator with the bigger 12. If you don't care about Android versus iOS, then depending on pricing, the Pixel is probably the better value now, but the iPhone is more future-proof with its better chip and better software support. If you do care, well then it's basically what it comes down to and you can't go wrong either way. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter and don't forget your mask when you leave the house. I'm Brian, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.